My name is Marcell Hanson, and you're listening to Small Habits, Big Changes. Let's dive in. Welcome. Today, we're going to go over the top 5 things to avoid at all costs to the best of your ability. If you want to live a healthy, full, joyful life, these 5 things have got to be eradicated. Stick around. I'm one to more focus on what I can do, what would benefit me, as opposed to focusing on what not to do. I remember it was told to me once, a lot of people complain about not having enough money. So what they do is scrimp and cut back and cut out their daily coffees or what have you. And while I'm not against anyone cutting out their daily frappuccino, I am more focused on how people focus. And that is, you have a income half of your ledger and you have an outgoing, like debt, payable side of your ledger. And most of the time people are focused on that. Like, this is how much I spend on rent or mortgage. This is my car payment. This is insurance. This is my expenditures. This is my extras, X, Y, and Z. How can I cut those in order to save money or make my money go farther, stretch the dollar, if you will? The truth is that is a losing scenario, especially with inflation and everything else going on. What you can do is leave that where it is. Certainly you could cut out something that's really obvious, but leave your payouts as they are and focus on your income. How can you make more money? How can you bring more value to the marketplace? So I want to work on shifting that mindset. And the majority of the episodes that we go through, I am focused on what you can do and what would benefit you most. Today's a little bit different because we're going to talk about the 5 things that I absolutely think you need to avoid in order to be consistently happy, feel good, healthy in your body. And that helps to create a really fruitful and, again, healthy, fit mind. So I'm just going to jump right into it. There are 5 big ones. There are more than this, but these are the ones that I think if you get a handle on these 5, create healthy habits around their absence, then you'll be doing very, very well, probably in the top 5 percentile of all the people around you, and probably North America at large, if not the majority of the first world countries on this planet. So they are not in particular order, but I'm actually I just have the list in front of me, and I'm going to go from 5 down to 1. So top 5 things you can do, you need to avoid in your life. These top 5 things you need to avoid. Number 5, stagnation. And this relates to your body and your mind, actually. Sitting all day is deadly. Thinking of the same thing over and over again, deadly. You need to avoid stagnation. We'll come back and give some tips about each of these when I'm done, but I'm going to give you the top 5 here, which ones to avoid. So number 5, avoid stagnation of any kind. Number 4, avoid late nights. Lots of debauchery happens late at night. Gambling is well into the night, drinking, smoking, socializing, sometimes dancing, which I'm a huge proponent of, but late into the night, that time is really reserved for quality sleep. So number 4 on the list is late nights. Avoid going out and staying up regularly late into the night. And I call late into the night after 10 o'clock. Number 3, toxins. Toxins of any kind. We're talking products and people. So if you have people in your life that regularly drain you, they bring drama to the table, they are negative, they are naysayers, have products that you use that have parfum in them, have fragrance in them. We'll get into the toxins of food in a second, likely, but these toxins are really about products and people. You have to really educate yourself around product because marketing is intended often to deceive and to allure you into purchase with really knowing what's inside. It's why they make the ingredient list so small, right? So important to avoid at all cost. Toxins, people and products are what we're focused on, certainly environmental toxins as well. Those are the keys, the key groups for number 3, avoiding toxins. Number 2, we alluded to this, avoid junk. And I'm not going to add food to it because it's not food. It's modified. It's not only genetically modified, but it's ultra processed, has dyes and lubricants and really nasty stuff in. People have gone for years calling it junk food, but actually that is really not an accurate term. Junk is an accurate term. Wannabe food, maybe, but not junk food. Avoiding junk, and that's food and drinks. So the junk they put in cans that have, it's funny, as an aside, a couple times in the last week, someone has mentioned like, this is really low. This is a great drink. It only has 27 grams of sugar, 27 grams of sugar. Now, for somebody who drinks, I haven't researched these numbers in a while, but I think a Coca-Cola probably has like 40, that has double that, right? But for somebody who's drinking Coca-Cola all day long, maybe 27 grams of sugar sounds light. 27 grams of sugar, I believe, is equivalent to about 6.5 teaspoons of sugar. That's the equivalent, roughly. That's a hell of a lot of sugar. Like, when have you sat down, if you're an adult listening to this podcast or watching on YouTube, when have you sat down and thought, oh, I could just like literally eat 6.5 teaspoons of sugar? It's absolutely mind-boggling. And people drink those junk drinks all day long. Coconut water, classic, anywhere from 25 to 60 grams of sugar in coconut water. It is mind-boggling. And while you can say it's natural sugars, a lot of that sugar is not natural sugar. It is added sugar. In the ingredients, you will find a number of ingredients you may not recognize. There's about 120 different listings for sugar that are not called sugar, outside of like coconut sugar, cane sugar, and stevia and molasses, fructose, like honey, those things that are sweeteners. There's lots of other ones like maltodextrin that nobody knows is actually a really toxic form of a sugar. Really important to read labels, really important not only on the products that you use on your face and your skin, your soap, lotion, deodorants, those sorts of things. Really important to read ingredients on what you're drinking and eating. And even better, if you just avoid the junk altogether, you'll know what's in your food. Stick with whole fruits and vegetables, identified meat that you know is ethical and organic, and again, ethically raised and slaughtered. Really important that you understand what you're consuming, because big food and big pharma are in bed together and they want you to buy things. They want you to subscribe and be prescribed things. They're not interested in your welfare. It is about capitalism. It's about making money. And so as a wise consumer, if you're not growing all your own food and you're not living out on a farm somewhere where the air is not as polluted and there's not as many toxins, and you're eating organic whole food and you're surrounded by people you love who are uplifting and want the best for you. If that's not you, then this is really important for you to take a look at the majority of food that is sold in the grocery store is not organic. It is often genetically modified. It is very often ultra processed, and I'll leave it at that. And we're down to number 1. So number 2 was junk. So avoid junk filled foods and drinks. Number 1 is a no-brainer. Many people will question why I put it in this category, but number 1 is drugs, and that includes sugar, any recreation drugs, as well as prescription drugs. Not talking like over-the-counter lotions, though lots of those do have perfume and toxins in them, but things like calendula cream or arnica, these are still processed, but they come from flowers. They often are very well intended and execute well on that intention in their product production, though there are some that have petroleum based, so I do avoid those. There are some with alcohol based You have to just read the labels. Again, when it comes to toxins, people, and more products, read the labels. When it comes to junk, whether they're food or drink, and when it comes to drugs, and that includes sugar, and that includes recreation drugs, and that includes prescription drugs. You need to know what you're consuming. Not to get dark, but literally, fentanyl has been a real issue, and it's laced in many, many, many drugs. I've known someone personally that just actually accidentally overdosed about just over a month ago, actually. Was a recreational drug user, but got something laced with fentanyl, and that was it. So it only takes once on some of these toxins. Others take a while to build up. You may not notice that they're causing issue. And this could be sugar that is leading to metabolic disease. It could be sorts of plastic particles that are building up in your organ tissue. It could be just visceral fat. I mean, depending on what you are consuming, seed oils, genetically modified foods, prescription drugs, if you're consuming any of those things and sugar, you really need to consider this top 5 list to avoid in order to turn your life around. Now, whether you're 30 and you're just getting started on your journey, or whether you're 60 and you're just getting started on your journey, hell, if you are 90 and you are just getting started on your journey, these 5 things are what you want to avoid. Stagnation, both physically and mentally. Stagnation. Late nights, you want to avoid being out as well as being up late nights. Toxins of all kind, but I specifically focus on people and products. Junk, and we're talking about junk that calls itself food and junk that calls itself drinks, whether it says it's hydrating, whether it says it has vitamin C in it. No matter what marketing pushes on it, you need to research what you're putting in not only your body, but the body of those that you claim to love, your family, your kids, and even your pets. Whatever I say on small habits, big changes, I am applying across the board to your family members, whether they are human or whether they are feline or whether they are canine. Regardless, you need to know what's going in the food for your cat. You need to know what's going in the food for your rabbit, for your dog, for your parakeet. For food and consumption are just as, like, the tricks that they use are just as insidious in the animal world as they are in the people world. And lastly, to avoid, of the top 5 list is drugs. That's sugar, that's recreation drugs, and that is prescription drugs. Now, again, obviously, a lot of these things are just flipped on their head. And I guess because I tend to focus on being optimistic and being creative versus destructive, I have a fair balance of that, but sharing with you what I know does work. This is another way of looking at it. If it helps you to see the 5 things not to partake in, not to do, versus the things that I've shared about doing because you don't like to be told what to do, but you'd prefer to resonate with what not to do, have at her. I think that it's probably 50-50 for people. For me, I feel like I have a pretty good sense of what works for me and that I've put it into practice and that I prove it or disprove it at some certain time in my life. And therefore I embrace it or not. And then there's other times later when I try it again, because who knows? It might be different at a certain time. However, stagnation, which was number 5, is really about avoiding stagnation, is about embracing movement. Okay. Embracing movement, and not just once a week with a trainer, not just twice a week with, a cycling class, or twice a month with a recreation baseball team. Often, much more often. This is where people get confused. Quantity or quality? Quantity or quality? The truth is, the fact is, quantity is quality. The more you move, moving more often is good. Imagine you wanted to get fit and you only went to work out once a month, but you worked out all day long, 8 hours, 10 hours, you worked out at the gym. Do you think you'll see results for the next 29 days before you go again? Or 6 months? You've been working out for 6 months, 1 day a month for 10 hours that day. I'm thinking you're not going to see a lot of results. You might see injury, but you likely will not see positive results. Imagine if you ate McDonald's every day and once every month you ate really clean. You cooked at home, no seed oils, no sugar, nothing genetically modified. Maybe you got it from your garden. It was whole foods, fruits and vegetables and fresh meats, and You ate once a month, all day. You had great, healthy, whole, nourishing food. Do you think that makes up for the other 29 days of McDonald's? I think it's really a rhetorical question. You know the answer is no. It does not make up for it in any way, shape, or form. That's the same with sleep. You think you can party every day? Even if we bring it down from a month to a week, if you party or stay out late past 10 o'clock, 6 days a week and 1 day a week, you think you can catch up on quality sleep? You can catch up a little if you're not very far behind, but not 6 days behind and not in 1 day. There's no way you're going to see the benefits of consistent quality sleep, of consistent nutritious meals, of consistent movement daily, hourly, every 20 minutes, of consistent hydration. You will not see a quality effect unless the quantity is in place. So remember, quantity is quality when we're talking about these key 4 pillars, when we're talking about what you need to avoid, how to pack your life by putting into effect the opposite of this avoidance list. Quantity is essential. So stagnation is about moving your body. Avoiding stagnation is about moving your body. Avoiding late nights is about having a healthy sleep routine, about sleeping, quality sleep each and every night. Avoiding toxins, as in people or products, it's about being educated, being accountable, being responsible for not only yourself and who you surround yourself with, but what products you're putting in and on your body. Same goes for avoiding junk, either junk by way of food or by drink. This is about nutrition, about being focused on whole foods, cutting out these ultra processed foods and doing it on a regular basis. You may have to get into it ingredients to replace some of this junk you're consuming with whole nuts, seeds, fruits, vegetables. Yet it is about focusing on the quantity of whole foods as opposed to this junk category that so many of us have consumed for the majority of our lives. And then lastly, the drugs, as in sugar, prescription, or recreation, it's about, again, being accountable for what's going in your body, reading labels, doing the research. I mean, you do the research on maybe when you go car shopping, you're looking at different prices, different packages. You've got, the ultra line that has a sunroof and heated seats, and you got the base model that doesn't have those things, but you can save $7,000 or $27 a month on your car payment. You shop more for insurance pricing, more for maybe a pair of shoes. You look at who might have a sale of the Yeezys that you want. People look and focus on the dumbest shit. I'll pay triple what my insurance is. I'll pay an extra $50,000 for a car over not reading labels of what goes in my body, not reading labels of what goes on my body, not knowing the people that are around me and their motives and their intentions and their toxicity level. Sure, do I slip up and find somebody who maybe has been deceptive or not shared their real self and realize that it's harmful to me? Of course, not everybody is so transparent. That's an intention I hold, to surround myself with people who hold me up, who care about my dreams, who support what I'm doing, or at the very least are just neutral. I'm okay with that. It's my responsibility to know what's going in my body, what's going around my body, what's going on my body, and what's happening within me. That's something I can control. In this world of today where, former presidents are getting their ear shot at, and people are trying to learn the latest dance for their TikTok video and spending probably God knows how many hours editing, 3-4 hours a day editing until it's right, or maybe 12 hours a day. And the other hours, they're just streaming through social media. These are all just for dopamine hits that are generic. They're artificial. They're like the high you might get from this junk drink or consuming this wannabe food that's full of absolute trash for your body. In order to interrupt that cycle, something has to happen where you realize that you actually can take control and create certainty within one thing in this whole world. One thing. Can't control the climate, political or otherwise. Can't control price of gas. can't control inflation, can't control the weather, can't control other people, can't control your kids, can't control your spouse, can't control, real estate taxes, can't control deer eating your garden. You can't control people out in traffic. You can't control which sports team wins unless you're really influential. The majority of things that I encounter each and every day, moment to moment, zero control over. Zero. There is one thing you have control over. One thing in this whole world. And really, you also have control over whether you give up control, because you have control by default. And that is you. You have control over what you eat. You have control over what you drink. You have control over who you socialize with. You have control over what you put in your body. You have control over what you put on your body. You have control at what time you go to bed. You have control at what time you wake up. And don't say, well, I have to work at 8. You don't, actually. You can create your own schedule and or work towards doing so. You're not a victim to your boss or your job or your spouse or your child. You are not a victim. You get to choose right now and each and every day how this plays out. And I hope that you choose wisely. I share with you these things that I believe the majority of people could absolutely revolutionize their entire life by avoiding stagnation, by avoiding being out and staying up late at night, by avoiding toxins, by avoiding junk, and by avoiding drugs, sugar, prescription, and recreation. By avoiding those things, you open up a huge portal to energy that has been consumed by these things, that has been destroyed by these things, and that has been artificially created by these things. I wish each and every one of you the insight that you need to take just one step in bettering your life today. Whether it's from anything I said, if that inspires you, it's from anything you read or you saw out on a billboard or some magical thought that came to you from a spirit guide, from a rock you picked up, from a tree you hugged, from a bird you listened to. You can find inspiration anywhere, and you can glean insight from almost anything if you're open. These things, being stagnant, staying up late at night, consuming toxins and junk and sugar, they are keeping you from having access to that portal that provides you with the power that you can transform into self-empowerment, self-esteem, confidence. The world is completely at your disposal as far as like what you can create if you don't have these things contaminating you. Okay. If you have any questions and you want more information about what I was talking about, where you can find tips and tricks and helpful insight as to how to help you along this path, perfectly free. On the outro, we have a number you can text and join our texting community. And as always, I'd love it if you shared it with someone else. I know it says it on the outro, but trying to pound it out. Like if you find some value in something, it's likely that someone you know would find value in it too. And that's what we're here to do, is share the value. Don't keep it to yourself. It need not be a secret. And until next time, next week, same bat time. New episodes drop on all of our podcast channels as well as YouTube at midnight on Wednesdays. Thank you so much for listening. Sending you all blessings. And again, if you want me to share with you more information about where I was going with this list of 5, reach out. I'm available. You can check us out at mystablетable.com. All the information and anything we share in relation to this podcast and the website are completely free. And again, wishing you well until next time. Stay strong. Be awesome. Thank you so much for listening today. If you feel any part of this episode resonated with you, then please consider sharing it with a friend who may also find value in it. And remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And before you go, did you know we have a fantastic free text community? If you want more bite-sized health hacks and reminders delivered directly to your phone, absolutely free, then text keyword YES to 206-483-2960. Again, that's keyword YES to 206-483-2960. And we'll see you on the inside.